in a way, for those who want to be a wise friend to Israel, and the UK government is one of those, the thing I would say is, if in doubt about what to do next, take a deep breath and try not to do what Iran wants you to do. And in this case, Iran wants escalation. It wants to undermine this process of normalization between Israel and the Arab world. And the danger is that if Israel drives forward, a bit like America after 9/11, driven by that desire for revenge, understandable horror at what's gone on and what Hamas have done, that they may end up getting into a worse situation.
Is there, though, Tom, a path where that could be reflected, in the sense that it feels at the moment as if a chain of events has been put into motion that almost feels unstoppable? Everybody kind of knows that the invasion of Gaza will probably prompt a response that could escalate things more widely, but that Israel almost feels that it has no choice. Is there another set of options that, say, the British government could be advocating for, or might be advocating for?
I think there are. And so if I was in number 10 now, I'd be saying, look, let's start with empathy and solidarity for the innocent victims of this. You know, they didn't choose the horror. If there's a gun pointing at a child, then let's try and look to help the child. Then you try to have a kind of hard-headed analysis of the implications and what they mean for your interests and values as the UK, which for me means do no harm, try to ensure that international law is respected, try to minimize loss of civilian life, try not to acquiesce in this sort of Trump-Putin sort of strongman world where international humanitarian law doesn't matter. It's troubling in a way to see some of the politicians equivocating on that. And then, to your point, Lewis, you get stuck into quiet back-channel international diplomacy that tries to actually see round the next corner and not fall into some of these traps. And for me, that means, how do we get the Rafah crossing open properly? How do we get humanitarian aid into Gaza? How do we use those back channels between Qatar, Turkey, Israel, and others? And how do we get all the parties to think about, where does this actually end? We all want to see a moment where we remove this Hamas threat, get the hostages out, without making civilians pay the price for that. And that means thinking, what's a credible government that could emerge in Gaza when the dust actually settles? What I think is missing in a lot of this is, where are the calls to the Palestinian leadership? We should be rebuilding them as an alternative to Hamas.
And just on the situation in Lebanon, is Hezbollah under anyone's control? I mean, yes, they were originally funded by Iran, but the Lebanese government presumably is powerless to stop Hezbollah doing what it wants to do.
Yes, the Lebanese government can't do much to restrain Hezbollah. And Hezbollah actually have quite a lot of margin of maneuver, even with Iran. Look, I don't believe that at this stage, either Israel or Hezbollah want an escalation across that northern Israel border. They both know the dangers of that. Certainly, you wouldn't find anyone in Lebanon who really wants that escalation. They know the danger of going down that track.
The Newsagents. This is a Global Player original podcast.